We are live.
Yeah.
We'll wait a couple of seconds before we introduce ourselves and let anyone who is logging in to actually join and settle in. Hi. We'll wait in the meantime. How have you been, Tom?
I've not been bad
I'm
since
glad. Are
today.
you enjoying your Pride Month?
I am. I still am. I'm loving it.
I am so glad, and it is really different to normal Pride months, but it's still fun to see just loads of rainbows start popping up on social media all over again.
Do you know what? As well, I've noticed like the pride flag everywhere in Leicester. I've never noticed it before, but like there's one outside the prison, there's one outside the fire station.
That's amazing.
They're everywhere.
Maybe we need to do a task or like a challenge. Any students who are still in Leicester, let's do a spot the pride flag and
I just
see however many we can like just find across town.
I've given
Best
two
spot gets
away.
a hoodie. You have given two away. But that's all you'll get.
There you go.
Um, Producer Sophie, are we good? Are we good to start? Have we got a few people watching and joining? We can do. Oh, we only went live 11 seconds ago, so it's like completely fine. But hello, friends. Hi, and welcome. Happy Pride Month to everyone. It is the 10th of February, and we are 10 days into the most magical months, at least during our university calendar. I am Dia Rattenpal. My pronouns are she, they, and I am the Equality and Diversity Executive here at the Students' Union. I am joined by the fantastic, I'm going to point the right way this time.
I am Tom Leggett. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm the LGBTQ plus officer at the SU.
Fantastic. So Tom, Pride Month is your baby, right? So let's talk Pride. What kind of events have we got coming as we're waiting for people to kind of join in? Tell us a little bit about any events that you can remember coming up. I am putting you on the spot, right?
Do you know what? Out of everything, the only thing that's coming to me right now is the drag show, even though I don't know how it's working this year.
Oh, yeah, guys,
Let's
you're
do
hearing
that.
it right. We are having a virtual drag show this year. And yes, it's going to look a lot different to a normal drag show, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. We've got some guests re-attending from last year, so some famous and common names. We have Rain, we have Pure, we have Poppy, and loads of other new queens and artists too, so be sure to tune in. And I am super excited for that, and that is our headline event, so it definitely, I'm glad that's the one you did choose to remember, Tom.
Thank you.
We see the lovely Joe giving us a big hello in the comments. Hi Joe, hope you're okay. Hope you're good, Joe. Love you. But yeah, let's kind of get into what this is about. So yeah, welcome to this chat. Let's talk inclusivity and the LGBTQ plus community. Tom and I are both members of the LGBTQ plus community, if you do or don't know, and we're just going to be talking a little bit about our own lived experiences, as well as just having a bit of a conversation, hopefully with you guys at home as well. If so, please feel free to like comment along in the chat section, and we'll be bringing up as many comments as we can. But yeah, I guess there's two strands to this ultimately. Tom, do you want to reveal the two strands?
You're asking me to.
Yeah, I mean, one is written just there, so
I'm I'm half awake. So one is how can we be more inclusive? It's the LGBTQ plus community, and the other is how can we be more inclusive within the LGBTQ plus community.
which, although seem very, very similar, they're super different as well in itself. So in the first, where we'll be talking about how you guys can be, how the general community can be inclusive to the LGBTQ plus community as a whole, and how the LGBTQ plus community could benefit from being almost normalized and just being part of the normal community, but also kind of turning an eye into the community itself and taking a look at intersectionality and how actually different things affect the LGBTQ plus community individually. There's always the notion of like bulking of the LGBTQ plus community together. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But let's start with the LGBTQ plus community as a whole, and I think I want to kick it off with something that is really close to my heart, and I think DSU is in general, because we've been doing a lot of work on it, and it's the whole notion of using your pronouns, like when you're in a conversation or having a conversation. I'm not sure, Tom, did you want to explain a little bit about why we like tend to include our pronouns and what exactly they're there for?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of see it as a protection of like the trans community.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry, my mind is going completely blank right now.
No,
Yeah,
you're
no,
fine.
it's just a thing of people who are trans. It's protecting their identities, making sure that there's no discrimination there. If you get people who identify as I'm sorry.
Like
You
any
go,
gender,
you go.
no, don't worry,
Yeah, no,
you're completely on the right track. I guess
I
it's
am.
the idea of, like, so for anyone who may not know, pronouns are like where I've written she they and Tom has written he him. They are the pronouns we like to be referred to by or as. And guys in the comments, please feel free to share your own pronouns if anyone is here and watching. But I guess the whole notion of it is, it kind of shows the gender identity you like to be referred to, but also it doesn't necessarily mean that's the gender identity you relate to. It's just the one you like to be referred to as. I know there's a lot of oh, hello Aisha, with her pronouns she her. So a perfect example, and now I know that I can refer to Aisha as a her. And it's a lot easier. You can refer to me as she, her, they, them, um, whatever you feel most comfortable with. So that's like a really cool idea, and it stems exactly. You're exactly right. It stems from protecting the trans community and the act of normalizing the use of pronouns. I think it's quite scary if you are a trans person and you may not, on at face value to certain people, may not look like the gender you identify with, to kind of go out there and say, hey, these are my pronouns. It really can kind of actually highlight you as you're a trans person, because you're the only person like pointing out that you use pronouns. However, if everyone starts using their pronouns just in and around conversation, it's a solidarity, and B, it's a lot harder for people to start picking out people who use their pronouns. And there's absolutely has to be an element of conversation in when you're talking to people, to respect their gender identity and to respect how we're talking to them. So I don't know. That was just something I wanted to kind of kick off with, and just think, like, I think that's one way we can really instantly be inclusive within the LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, we've had a question from Aisha. Tom, you can read it out. I feel like I've been talking so much.
Okay, so Aisha said, if you don't know or aren't sure of someone's pronouns, what should you do? I always tend to stick to they, them when I'm not sure. Sometimes you might just refer to them with their name. Dear, is there anything you do differently?
Yeah, you're completely right. I think they them is a very gender neutral pronoun. You can use they when referring to any of the genders, usually, unless someone kind of specifies that they is not a pronoun that they identify with. So it's a great question. And yeah, you can refer to someone by their name. And I guess one other thing is, you could simply just ask the person if you feel like you're in a comfortable enough situation. There's a lot of talk of, actually, please feel free to kind of come up and ask to me. I personally would never judge you, and I'm actually very thankful for the fact that you have taken the time out to ask me. Especially because, yeah, if you're unsure, unless someone has completely specified what their pronouns are, we never are sure. And we have to actually normalize that as well, rather than assuming people's pronouns are XYZ or XYZ. Asking is a really, really good way to take part in that. So what good question, Aisha. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
It works the other way around as well, I guess, because you have social media and you wouldn't want people assuming your pronouns. So, if it's putting your pronouns in a bio, I have it on my Instagram, on my Facebook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that you're exactly right. And like actually one thing you guys could do at home as well is include your pronouns. So as Tom said, in the same way, I don't think people want to like kind of go around always tiptoeing and asking or doing that. It is just really simple to include your pronouns. I include it in my email signature so students around us are aware of everything. Oh, we've had a comment from Ben. Hello, Ben. Hope you're doing well. Ben, if you don't mind, please feel free to kind of share your pronouns in the chat, as that's currently what we're talking about. But yeah, that was kind of it. Oh, Ben has asked a question in Tom. I'll let you read it out. You can be the question reader because I feel like I read them out too much.
So Ben's asked, what's the best way to go about it if you do get someone's pronouns wrong accidentally? And he's also said that his pronouns are he, him.
Oh. Do you have you got an answer to this one? Do you have your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, if you get it wrong and you're corrected on it, just thank them and move on. You don't need to kind of create a conversation out of it because that kind of highlights it and it just throws off the whole, just kind of like,
Dynamic, yeah.
the dynamic of it.
I think that it's as simple as what Ben just said, and I can see a comment from Lydia there as well that shares the same sentiment as what Ben just asked. I think mistakes are absolutely okay to happen, and a mistake is exactly that. It's a mistake. It's not done intentionally. It's not done on purpose. And if you do get it wrong and the person is able to kind of correct you or you are corrected, I guess all we say is learn from it and move on. Don't make it into a big deal or highlight it, because it is that element of you don't need to kind of shine a light on it, and it's probably not that big of an issue if you are able to move along with it. But yeah, the only thing I would remember is make sure you do learn from that and try not to kind of go down that route again. And it's now you have like a conscious effort to say, oh, these are the pronouns I use when associating when talking to this person or associated to this person. So thank you for that. That again, a brilliant question. And if you guys do have any other questions, even if they're not related to pronouns, but just general about inclusivity or even about the LGBTQ plus community, please feel free to kind of leave it in the chat. We want this to be a really open and safe and transparent and honest space, and we want you guys to feel that to the maximum. So please do. The only other thing I wanted to kind of bring up about pronouns is the little DSU badges that we have, which unfortunately right now you're unable to physically collect because government guidelines have prohibited us from doing that. But the minute everyone is allowed back on campus, those badges will be out for everyone to wear. Tom, do you want to like describe the little badges? I'm so proud of them.
I have to describe them. Okay. Design student time. I think I actually have some somewhere, but I'm not sure. No, they're not there. So yeah, they're just little. They can go on your lanyards with your student IDs. They've just got either they, them, he, him, she, her. I think we've also got blank ones you can write your own pronouns on. Yeah, no, it's just a great way. It's like having a little bio attached to your lanyards. It's nice.
It's exactly that, and I really love it. But yeah, I'm going to move us on a little bit from the pronoun conversation, if that's okay, and talk a little bit more generally about inclusivity in the LGBTQ plus community. So I was doing my browsing for this ahead of this live stream, and I came across a little PDF from the Park School of Communications, and they have a list of 7 easy ways to be inclusive, which I thought was actually a really cute list, and I was wondering if I could kind of go through it with you guys a little bit. So it's just like really simple in terms of actually to include LGBTQ plus students, staff, or whatever context you guys are in, would be know your general definitions. So it says, when talking about gender and sexual orientation, many people want to use the correct terminology but don't have useful definitions. So this is especially true when discussing gender, as we still have been. But what I would say is, in learning your general definitions, utilize online resources. I love using like social media and stuff, and I use like Instagram to learn. I use Twitter because there are so many educational pages on there. But alternatively, please know you can go onto the DSU website as well and the DMU website, where we have a list of a few LGBTQ plus flags with their terminology and what each of the flags and identities stand for. So that's a really, really easy way to kind of learn about it. And I'm going to look to share a link to the Open University, who have compiled a list of LGBTQ plus resources. So please, 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 if you are able to take like 10, 20, 30 minutes to kind of just read up on not everything, but just little bits and bobs to allow yourself to get a little bit more educated, because it's only through education that you'll be able to understand and start including the community. But yeah, I'm going to move on to the next one if that's okay. And the second one is simply include LGBTQ plus themed flyers, posters, and publications in your classroom and office. And I think this goes into the whole notion of representation where you study. I'm not sure, Tom, if you wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Um,
I
I mean,
always give you the tough ones, you know that.
we do. The annoying thing is we're not in offices or classrooms at the minute, but to be honest with you, I don't see a lot of it around university at all. Nor in my workplace. I don't know about anywhere else. I mean, obviously in the SU, your workplace, our workplace, there's loads
Our
because we want it there.
yeah.
But everyone should want it there, and it's not there.
And that raises a really good point in terms of actually when I come into the DSU, I feel really like at home and I feel very welcomed because I can see
Mm.
like pride flags, I can see like really cool pieces that represent me and flyers, whatever, books by queer artists. And I really love seeing that because I'm like, okay, this is a safe space for me. But you've just mentioned your other place of work doesn't have stuff like that. And there really always is that element, at least with me when I was working at places, is I would want to shy or hide away just that little bit to kind of try and gauge what the reaction is or what the response would be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I mean,
oh,
no,
go
go
on,
on.
sorry.
You go.
Oh, I was going to just say, so
Okay.
yeah, like having that visual representation when you're kind of walking into a room and you can see that, hey, there is something that kind of highlights you and your sexuality and you as a person without shaming you, and is actually something that is prideful, can mean a lot and makes such a difference.
Do you know what? I'm actually tempted now to take my pride flag to work. I'm just going to
You,
stick it on the wall.
you have to do it. You have to do it. I
I mean,
remember like every student accommodation I've been in, my partner and I have always been like, let's hang a pride flag at the top. So people see it on campus and see it walking around.
I
And
see
and it's
those
like
in windows, to be honest, student accommodation windows.
exactly. And you were just saying in the beginning, right? Like the pride flags that you've been seeing around Leicester and just how that puts a smile on your
Yeah.
face. Oh,
Yeah.
Tom,
I
do you want
mean,
to tell people where two of them are?
do I want to? Yes. So there's, well, I know where three lots of them are. I mean, should we go to
Ooh,
the third one as well?
go on, do it.
There's one at the fire station, which is near the UOL campus, and there's also one outside the Leicester prison,
Just so cool.
Welford Road, and God, where have I seen the other one? Oh, is it the council town hall?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
one.
um,
Which
right
is by the
above
pretty
the
fountain,
fountain.
right?
Yeah, that one.
Oh, Joe, that makes me so happy to hear. I hope they're out your window, so if I ever come walking by your house, I should be able to see them, and it will definitely put a smile on my face at the very minimum. But yeah, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. It is really, really cool. Tom, do you have the article up from the Park School of Communications?
The what? Sorry.
So the list I'm reading of the 7 easy ways. If you don't have it up, don't worry. I can keep reading
No,
off.
that's why I'm completely confused.
That's fine. I'll read them out for you guys. But the other one, I'm not going to go through all 7. Don't worry. But the other there's two I'm going to go through, if that is okay. That is actually four I'm holding up. There are two. And that is to use inclusive language at all times. And this is like a really, really easy one. And again, it touches on the pronouns a little bit, is where don't always assume a heteronormative life. Don't always assume it's husband and wife. Like if someone was to come up to me and be like, oh dear, you're going to get married one day, have a husband, it automatically makes me like, close away, shy away. And I have no other way to explain it. But if someone was like, oh dear, you're going to grow up, get married, and find the love of your life, it automatically is just like no reference to like a specific sexuality or person. And it just kind of invites everyone. It kind of fits the box for everyone. We might not all have a husband or a wife, but if you are wanting to get married, you will have a partner, whoever that may be, whatever the gender they might identify as, whatever sexuality you may be. Instead of, oh, sorry, go.
Sorry, just like, you get like his and hers products. That disturbs me. That really disturbs me.
The worst is when you can only buy stuff that are his and her products.
Yeah.
I love the ones where you can pick up hers and then you can pick up another hers if you wanted to. But when they are put in a pack, that is like such a great point. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
You get like some card shops that do like his and his, hers and hers cards, but I don't really see it anywhere else.
You are so true. Card Factory have started to.
Yeah, I know Clinton's do, but it's just
it's so hard. And let's talk about that. Like, why is it so hard for us to just be included in, like, there is so much money to be made from like catering, simply being more inclusive. Like, we're not going to be buying his and hers robes because we can't, but sell them as individuals, and you've just doubled your sales.
Things like
maybe you and I could buy a his and hers one, Tom. Maybe we should be the ones with the matching robes. Oh, DSU branded robes. Producer Sophie, are you listening? Can you get on that, please? Thank you. DSU branded robes. I'm loving it. She has said yes, and I'm so excited. Oh my god, we'll do a giveaway if this actually ever happens. I would love that. But the final thing I kind of wanted to get your opinion on, in terms of, oh yes, Joe, yes, Laura, it's a done deal now. If they've said yes to it, this is an executive decision. Especially as we're working from home. I need it. It's winter. It's snowing. It's only right if we get these robes in. But the final point I kind of wanted to talk about in how we can be inclusive to the LGBT community is possibly the most out there. In terms of being an active bystander. So Tom, I'm not sure. Have you heard the term active bystander?
I've heard of it and I've had it described to me before.
And that's perfect.
Not up there.
I'm glad you've heard of it though. So an active bystander is, I'm sure Ben, our welfare rep, if you are listening right now, please feel free to leave a better definition than what I will say here. But essentially summed up, it is that element of when you as a student or as an individual kind of see something that is happening that is wrong and that is right, and when there are those instances where you kind of see people who are being homophobic or literally any sort of negativity or hate or harassment, we have a speak video on our YouTube channel. Please go look there and it will kind of fill you in about everything regarding being an active bystander. And being the notion of being an active bystander is when you're seeing these elements of hate and harassment, how you as an individual can step up to confront it and to try and help. And of course, you only do this when you're in a safe enough environment to do so. And it doesn't mean you have to be the one to kind of get physical and stop fights or anything like that. But if you can do so much as inform the authorities or inform someone else and ensure that it's not left the way it is, you're doing so much for the community. And I think that is a brilliant thing. Yeah, producer Sophie, thank you so much for mentioning the speak video. So please go on to our YouTube after this. So you're either on our YouTube or Facebook to watch this, and we have a YouTube video that came out last week regarding speak and how you can be an active bystander and be safe through it. so that was kind of it for me in terms of little things that you can do. I don't think any of these are overly big, but I think you can hear from just Tom and I's voices how such little changes can have such a happy or negative effect.
Yeah,
At least on us two, maybe
they
the
can't.
rest of the community isn't like this, but hey, we're the ones talking, so we can say it. But if I may, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit further about inclusivity and how we can be inclusive within the LGBTQ plus community. Perfectly timed banner there, by the way, Sophie. That is phenomenal. Happy Pride, everyone. Happy Pride. Thanks, Laura. Every time I see a Happy Pride message, I feel the need to shout it out to just get that little bit of happiness going. But Tom, I'm gonna come to you in just a moment, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, so be ready.
Of course.
At least you are ready, though. Within
Ready?
the LGBTQ plus community, no one is the same. So I identify as bisexual or queer. My partner doesn't know what they identify as just yet. Tom, do you know how you identify?
Yeah, I identify as a gay male.
Fab.
Used to be bi, not now. You know, the kind of
It's
teenage.
yeah, it
Really,
changes.
yeah,
And there's this whole notion of the LGBTQ plus community being like a spectrum or an umbrella, in that like LGBTQ plus, we use that, but the plus is exactly there in regards to there is so much more than lesbian, gays, bisexual, transgender students, queer students. There is so much that LGBTQ plus encompasses within it. So many different gender identities, sexual identities, romantic identities. And actually, we need to start talking about how even within the LGBTQ plus community, there are still people who are benefiting from kind of being the faces of the LGBTQ plus community, and there are faces who are not benefiting from it. Also, I'm going to pause really, really quickly because Ben has shared the perfect definition of being an active bystander. Tom, I said you can be the reader out of comments, so it's all yours.
yeah. So being an active bystander is standing up when you see something that is wrong, but don't put yourself at risk whilst doing it. So yeah, as we've already said, the Speak video by it's by DMU Sport, creates a way to learn how to be an active bystander.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Ben. I want to bring up a term, and in the comments, or Tom as well, I want you to like tell me if you've heard of the term before. And the term is simply intersectionality. There it is. In the open. Tom, is that a term you're familiar with?
Intersectionality or intersexuality?
Intersectionality.
Okay, no, I haven't heard of that.
So great. You are perfect for this stream, Tom, because I will use this time to I can't pretend to be like the key person who's able to kind of define this, but the whole term the whole element of intersectionality came from who is regarded as the first intersectional feminist, Kimberly Crenshaw. And this definition revolves around the idea of, in the same way that there is oh yes, Amber, well done for getting the name right. But it revolves around the whole idea in that in the way there is discrimination towards people, there's discrimination towards the protected characteristics. It's unfair to assume that one person will only ever fit in one protected characteristic. Some people do only fall into one protected characteristic. So these protected characteristics, there's a list of 9, some of them including gender, sexuality, gender reassignment, pregnancy, age, race, and so on. I won't delve into all of them just yet, but it kind of revolves around the idea of, actually, let's take me, for example. I am a woman, but I am a cisgendered woman, but I am brown and I am not straight. So by that category, I am like in 4 different protected characteristics. And it's this idea of, actually, within the LGBTQ plus community, yes, everyone shares that same characteristic of being LGBTQ plus, but there will be some people within it who who will kind of be pushed even further down the line, i.e., just to kick it off, women, and then we kind of go into trans women, who will be kind of even lower down the rung. And then there are black trans women or trans women of color who are essentially are kind of being seen as pushed to the bottom of this rung within the LGBTQ plus spectrum. More often than not, with the other end of the rung being cis gay men, cis gay white men. Hello, Tom. But I think
Annoying.
it annoying, yes, but also kind of sad to know that this is happening within the LGBTQ plus community. And I'd love to kind of get your take on this right now. As someone like you and I, we identify really differently and we are kind of on opposite spectrums. Hello, Molly. Sorry, just randomly calling Tom out in this. But I'd love to kind of hear your take on what you think the community who is at the top of this rung can do to highlight and push forward the parts of the community that are at the bottom of this.
Yeah, so I'll go back to, I'll defend my annoyingly statement, because like I think people who are in my kind of category don't realize it that much. So that's why it's annoying to me. But from my perspective, it is just, it's all about communication and just presenting ourselves as equals.
I think,
It,
yeah,
if I,
I really like what you said in the first place. And I don't think this is something that is too often mentioned about or spoken about within the LGBTQ plus community. And I did that very much on purpose to kind of highlight this on you, is that this is happening, and this is happening around us as we kind of live and breathe. And it's a real shame because it's not being spoken about. So this is the time we are going to speak about it. And as I've been saying, I've been doing my research, and one of the things I've seen is, have you guys heard of the gay wage gap? No?
never heard
I'm
of.
counting on you to say no here, Tom, so I can be like, oh, that leads me onto this is what it is. So it is perfect. Also, Kirsty, I've seen your comment about the Pride Craft event coming up next week. I just really quickly, I think you're talking about the Prideful event, but if not, I'm so sorry. The Prideful event will be an event hosted by the executives where we'll just have a bit of fun. I think Aisha is going to teach us how to apply some glitter looks on our faces, and we're just going to play some games, and it will be a much more light-hearted discussion. So please feel free to join us. But if you did want any more information, or I am talking about the wrong event, please go to the DSU or the DMU events page, and they'll have a little bit about every single event going on. Thank you.
Are you
But yeah,
mailing glitter to me for that?
wait, say that again.
Are you mailing some glitter to me for that?
Oh my God, shall I? I would love that. Producer Sophie in the back, can you please? I really like that, because producer Sophie is simply in the back and cannot even come out to defend herself. We just kind of get her to agree to just so many random things. So we'll try and get some glitter sent over, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But let's go back to the gay wage gap. Oh my God, let's get serious. Is the gay wage gap is a study that was done looking at how homosexual couples and their earnings and income. And you would think there is definitely a disparity within kind of how much straight people make and how much gay people make. But what was really interesting is the disparity between gay couples and lesbian couples. But this, and although you kind of think, oh, it's the LGBTQ plus community, but it was found that there was such a disparity between the two, and it was all due down to gender, regardless of sexual orientation. When you are in a family consisting of a man and a woman, let's say you guys are the middle. Very notoriously, men earn more than women, so men are usually kind of making up the majority of the wage compared to women. Sorry for hitting my mic there. But then obviously we have lesbian couples, where it is women and women, as women are notoriously known to get a lesser income, they are kind of at that bottom of the rung in terms of they're both earning 70% of what a male person would earn. But on the very other side, there are gay men or gay couples who are earning more because they are generating two male incomes. And then there's that whole topic of actually childcare and breadwinners and home makers, sorry, which is really, really interesting. But I think there's little things like that that kind of jump in and highlight that there's so much that needs to be done to kind of talk about this. And the fact that someone like you didn't know about it kind of highlights it in that I was only kind of able to find out about this after doing research for this. Like, I had to go out of my way to kind of look at how inclusive is the LGBTQ plus community, and we realized there's so much more that needs to be spoken about and amplified. And in these situations where you are of privilege, and I use that word lightly because I understand we are all facing various forms of discrimination in very different ways, but there are definitely others within our community who are feeling discrimination for multiple issues. And it's in those situations that we have to kind of start looking at amplifying these issues and bringing them to the spotlight and ensuring that we're kind of helping those around us. Yeah, that was just kind of it on the gay wage gap. Also,
You're
a
really
note.
educating me, I'll just say. Like,
Oh, thank you, thank you. That was the hope.
I'm learning more than I did back at school. I'll say that much.
And that is another thing, guys. Teachers, please, like, teach your kids it's okay to be gay. Teach students about safe sex. Teach students about safe relationships. Teach students so we don't end up in positions where we're having to kind of teach ourselves. Because, you know, what we're going to school for if we're learning ourselves? Why do we have to kind of learn all of this ourselves? It's duty of schools, but that is just me ranting. But fits in so perfectly with this, Tom. Thank you.
That's okay.
The other thing is what I wanted to talk about is also about inclusivity within the LGBTQ plus community, and it is the notion of whitewashing. Now, Tom, do you know what whitewashing is?
I have an idea.
Go on, I'm ready to hear it.
Kind of, I mean, I'm going to compare it to, you get like pink washing, where it's all based on females and pink's the colour for them. Similar kind of thing with having white people everywhere, I guess. Is it that kind of?
That is exactly spot on. Whitewashing is the idea of when looking to represent community. So it's a very general term, so media, education. When used to present stuff, there is intentional or unintentional, there is the erasure of voices of color where white people are kind of being pushed forward into the spotlight and the limelight. Examples being like what I was just talking about. There are a lot more white LGBTQ plus media out there than there is Black or POC LGBTQ plus media. I think one of the most kind of infamous examples of this is RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars. So I'm not gonna, if anyone has watched or spoilers or anything like this, this is your warning essentially. But All Stars is notoriously known for having so many black queens in the show that kind of make it to the show. Yet whenever it comes to the finale or the people winning, they are white queens, which just isn't representative of the amount of queens of color that are performing or the amount of queens of color that are in the competition. It always ends up with being a white queen at the top, a white queen winning again, a white queen winning again. And RuPaul was brought under a lot of criticism for it after last year, and Shea Coulee and Monet Exchange being the first winners after however many years of RuPaul's Drag Race, the first black queens to win, which is so scary to me. But the other thing I want to bring up is, have you guys seen the movie, is it literally just called Pride, about the miners? It's a British movie. I'm gonna say Pride. I've not seen it myself, so I'm gonna rely on people here. And that is a movie that kind of focuses on the whole oh my god, sorry, not the movie Pride. We're going to talk about the movie Stonewall. That's what it is. Pride has its own criticisms, but I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about the movie Stonewall. Stonewall, which focuses on the Stonewall riots. It came out in 2015. It came out and the trailer came out and it actually received a lot of backlash, because although this was a movie focusing in on the Stonewall riots, very famously, the leaders of the Stonewall riots were Black trans queens of color, very, 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 very notoriously. But in this movie, it was depicted as white men being the ones to throw the stone and start the riots. Thank you, Amber. I am thinking of Stonewall, so thanks. Which again is really, really shocking to kind of see the act of whitewashing even within the LGBTQ plus media. So it's happened in RuPaul's All Stars, it's happening in movies, it's happening in so many different varieties of kind of, there's been a whole lot of discussion about actually like the book Women Don't Owe You Pretty and Florence Given, before I get told off for mispronouncing names, I'm so sorry. In that actually there are loads of people within the LGBTQ plus community that feel like their voices as voices of color are not being heard anywhere near as amount of the white people within the LGBTQ plus community. And there is absolutely a massive discussion to be had, and there is a lot of data and a lot of there's a lot to kind of back these claims up when you really start looking into the LGBTQ plus community. So I think one quote that I picked up from NBC News of all of them is that the architects and elders of the movement, of the LGBTQ plus movement, were of color, but seemingly throughout the years, their voices and their names have been erased, with usually white LGBTQ plus people being at the forefront and being at the name and head of Pride or XYZ. Which is something I guess we have to kind of discuss further, and there's a lot of discourse to be had within the LGBTQ plus community about how we can elevate this. I'd love to hear your take on it if you have one. I love putting you on the spot.
You love it. You love
Tom is here to have his learning lesson
today. Yeah.
But even in that in itself is so important, and I've seen the comments from Joe and Amber saying teach, thank you, and Joe has made a really good comment going back to sex ed around actually sex ed in schools started with how to put a condom on, and only ever focusing on straight sex. I will say it, like if you are in a sapphic relationship, there is the likelihood that you will have never needed to use a condom, or will never need to use a condom. But I've been taught how to use a condom, but that's not the education I need. I need the education on how to use a dental dam or XYZ or anything. And it's such a thing on how little we, as both within the LGBTQ plus community and as the LGBTQ plus community, we've been taught. And Tom, sorry to make an example of you and put you in the spotlight. I think you're a really great example in that I've taken you by surprise today. And to be fair, it's only because I've been doing my research heavily on this, and I've been like looking to kind of see this. And I don't know, it's just weird to me that we as a community have to kind of be the ones to educate ourselves and have to be the ones to make the move. And it absolutely shouldn't be that way, like not at all, but it's just the way we keep going. And I don't know, maybe these are our final messages to you, but if there are any questions at all, please do send them in, and we'll kind of hang around for a few seconds to make sure any questions that do come in are there. But I kind of wanted to end it with the notion of there is still so much to do. However far we think we have progressed from wherever we were 50, 60, 70 years ago. And we saw in the Pride quiz, like how like their homosexuality goes from decriminalized to legalized to kind of same-sex marriage to being able to adopt. Like there are absolutely, don't get me wrong, there are some brilliant things that have come from the work of the LGBTQ plus community to lift us as a whole. but it's also time for us to kind of turn an eye on ourselves and make sure we are holding ourselves to account. And when we are lifting each other, we are lifting all of us and not just some of us. Yes, Joe. So Joe has said we need to talk about sex more because it's not a one size fits all. The only thing that is always the same is consent, and we can rant on for ages about this. Preach, sister, you are completely correct. Nothing is one size fits all any days. You know, people are so individual, and you know that's the whole idea of being an individual. None of us are the same, and all of us have like different learning styles, different teaching styles, different styles for anything. You know, I'm one of those people that loves Weetabix on beans. No, I'm just kidding. I would never. Have you guys seen that though? It is horrendous. It's so horrendous that they could even tweet that. Oh my God, go onto Weetabix's Twitter and I'm sure you will love it. I'm sure you will. But it's that whole idea of there is still so much teaching and learning to do. And I urge you guys that in this time, we do kind of make the time to learn, and you take the time during Pride Month to use the resources that are on the DSU website, and use the resources that are available on Open University, and use the resources that are available across the nation and beyond, to kind of start picking up on the voices of those that are probably not heard as much. So yeah, that's all I kind of wanted to end it on. There's nothing else for me. If there are any questions, please do let me know. But Tom, if you had any final few words to kind of give to the audience, words of wisdom, even if you wanted to.
Wisdom. You've picked the wrong day for me on wisdom. I promise you have.
You can just say bye to them.
Yeah, I'm just going to say thank you.
But yeah.
You've ended it perfectly.
Oh, thank you. And thank you to you guys at home. Thank you, Joe. You have been very, very lovely. Please stay empowered and keep learning to everyone at home. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask me or Tom, and we'll do our best to kind of get back to you and be as educational as possible. And we have not even scratched upon the surface. We have simply possibly done the headlines of certain things. So please get in touch with us and continue to educate yourselves. Happy Pride, and see you in the upcoming events. Bye, guys.